by DG-ISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif, and my colleague, Mr. Shafqat Ali Khan, spokesperson and additional secretary for MOFA. We are obviously, as we speak, the entire region is facing a serious threat to its peace and stability owing to the politically motivated and highly provocative environment being created by India in the wake of Pahalgam attack in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The purpose of this interaction is to brief you about these developments and to share Pakistan's concerns at the highly irresponsible and destabilizing Indian actions and statements. We look forward to answering any questions after the briefing ends. Let me start by reiterating that Pakistan condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. No cause or objective can possibly justify taking lives of innocent people. This is the national policy, and this is the Islamic policy. Killing of a human being tantamount, as per Quran, killing of the entire humanity. And saving a life tantamounts to saving the entire humanity. So we believe in that. Let me say that targeting of innocent civilians is surely deplorable and condemnable. And this is happening in many parts of the world, and we have been subscribing our views and our policy everywhere it happens. We are concerned over the loss of lives during the Pahalgam attack. We also extended our condolences. Being a victim of terrorism itself, no one can feel the pain of those impacted by this scourge like Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, as the member of the UN Security Council, Pakistan constructively engaged with the other members on the press statement which was issued by the UN Security Council on the Pahalgam incident in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The UN Security Council statement contains condemnation in the strongest possible terms of the incident. On the other hand, it is India that glorifies and even celebrates its assassination campaign and sponsoring of terrorism in Pakistan and other countries. No other country has sacrificed as much as Pakistan, nor suffered so much due to terrorism. More than 80,000 lives have been sacrificed. Economic losses of about over $150 billion have been incurred. And in totality, the economic and the indirect losses add up to close to $500 billion. We have been working closely with the international community to address this common threat. Since 22nd of April, Foreign Office has been actively involved and in interacting with the international community. At least a dozen foreign ministers, deputy prime ministers, and the Prime Minister, I have been in touch and have discussed and explained the situation. And I'm sure, you being from the media must be already up to date, because MOFA as a policy, after each interaction with any dignitary, we make a very brief statement as to that interaction. The countless sacrifices made by our valiant law enforcement agencies, as well as common citizens, have helped address the threat of terrorism and contributed towards regional and international peace and stability. In fact, Pakistan has been a victim of terrorism that is planned, orchestrated, and sponsored by India. In this backdrop, it is preposterous to even suggest any kind of association of Pakistan with this incident. The hype that is created on each and every incident in India
seems to be deliberate and choreographed. It is unfortunate that India continues to weaponize unsubstantiated accusations and allegations as part of its disinformation strategy for narrow political ends. This is not the first time that India has resorted to such tactics. They have done it before and they have resorted again to the same what they did in Pulwama incident and earlier ones. In fact, this has now become a very familiar template aimed at diverting attention from India's inability to suppress the inalienable right of the Kashmiris to self-determination, its security failures in illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as well as its decades-long state terrorism and oppression. To distract the international community's attention from the horrors of what's happening in the Indian illegally held Kashmir, India deliberately raises tensions with Pakistan. A durable solution for India lies in focusing on its internal problems instead of raising fingers on other countries. India has been deploying the allegations of terrorism to achieve a strategic objective for long. India has a history of using the excuse of terrorism for introducing draconian laws to suppress the innocent Kashmiris in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and to defy the UN Security Council resolutions, bilateral agreements, and international law. A case in point being India's illegal and unilateral actions of 5th of August 2019 reminds us of the blatant violation of the relevant UN Security Council resolutions and the 4th Geneva Convention, as well as India's own commitments. India needs to explain why such incidents usually coincide with high-profile visits. Please make no mistake, the root cause of instability and conflict in South Asia is the unresolved and long-festering Jammu and Kashmir dispute. India's illegal occupation of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir in stark violation of the UN Security Council resolutions and grave violations of the human rights must remain a matter of grave concern for the international community. At the same time, all such incidents are used to whip up domestic political sentiment for narrow political gains. We remain extremely concerned at the very vitriolic, highly inflammatory, and blatantly Islamophobic narrative being directed against the Kashmiris and the Indian Muslims. Indian media and political leaders are directing a similar discourse against Pakistan. This highly irresponsible ploy for narrow objective gains is dragging the entire region towards extreme instability. India made allegations against Pakistan after the Pahalgam attack without an iota of evidence and with such dramatic speed. Pakistan has nothing to do with it, and we have said so right from the beginning, and I repeat, Pakistan has nothing to do with Pahalgam incident, period. We demand an independent and transparent probe by neutral investigators as announced by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif. Any TORs in this regard should be credible and mutually agreed. Pakistan has neither any connection to it, as I explained, nor is the potential beneficiary. At a time when Pakistan economy is stabilizing and we are making significant progress against terrorism, we need to question why this situation is being created by India all of a sudden and what is the motivation behind it. The actions that India has announced after its Cabinet Committee on Security are illegal and highly irresponsible. Holding in abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty is unilateral and illegal. There are no such provisions in the treaty. It cannot be amended without consensus. It cannot be terminated without consensus. And in case of any disagreement or issues, there are forums provided in the treaty which should be invoked. This action shows India's blatant disregard for the sanctity of international treaties. It sets a dangerous precedent. It strikes at a fundamental pillar of the regional cooperation with profound implications for regional and global stability. Pakistan is an agrarian economy. Millions of people are dependent on the waters being regulated by this treaty. Please don't forget we gave up three rivers in this treaty. And I hardly can find a water distribution treaty in the world whereby a part of dealing with the distribution of water, the rivers could have only also been given up. I can't find. The National Security Committee of Pakistan has made it very clear that any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan as per the Indus Water Treaty and the usurpation of the rights of the low riparian will be considered as an act of war. It is equivalent to an attack on the people of Pakistan and its economy. Other diplomatic measures by India are indiscriminate and unnecessary. India's actions and inflammatory rhetoric in the last few days are highly irresponsible. Being a responsible member of the international community, Pakistan believes in restraint and remains committed to regional peace and stability. However, in case of any act of aggression, Pakistan remains determined to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity in exercise of its inherent right to self-defense as enshrined in Article 51 of the UN Charter. The world leaders I have been speaking to in the last few days after this incident, who have been requesting for the exercise of restraint, I have been making it very clear on behalf of our government, on behalf of the nation, Pakistan will not be the first one to resort to any escalatory move. However, in case of any escalatory move by the Indian side, we will respond very strongly. Let me raise some questions that need to be considered with respect to the Pahalgam incident. One, is it not the time for the international community to hold India accountable for its transnational assassinations in different countries, including Pakistan? Two, is it not important to distinguish between the international community's sympathy with victims of the incident and unwitting endorsement of Indian belligerence? Three, is it not that Indian propaganda is aimed at fabricating a casus belli for a military adventure? Four, don't you think that India's blatant disregard of international law and whimsical approach towards its obligations would lead to a highly unstable and unpredictable regional order? Five, isn't it high time for the international community to step in to condemn India and to prevent it from targeting people on the basis of Islamophobia and religious hatred? Six, can we deny that the dangerous Indian brinkmanship and efforts aimed at escalation can potentially lead to disastrous consequences in a nuclearized region and beyond? Notwithstanding above, Pakistan is cognizant of the developing situation. We are very alert, the armed forces are alert, and the National Security Committee resolve is very much there. We are vigilant, our armed forces are vigilant, and
The nation will thwart any misadventure, responding in a befitting and decisive manner at the time and place of our choosing. Let me also share with you that it took no time that we issued the statement expressing our condolences. I was with Prime Minister in Ankara on an official 36 hours visit. After we landed, the news came, and the moment the meetings for which we had gone there ended in the evening, I was in touch with the Foreign Office, and the Foreign Secretary and I and the team finalized in consultation with the stakeholders, Pakistan's statement on this incident, number one. Number two, a press statement was lodged by US in the UN Security Council, and we received that statement. And prima facie, there were two I'm not sure whether they were intentional or there were two important things which were missing there. One was missing, one was additional. The Pahalgam did not have in which part of the world, so we insisted Jammu and Kashmir to be added. Number two, there was a reference to the resistance forum, and there was a condemnation of that forum. We were happy to do that, but we asked, can we have any evidence? Or even if they have self-claimed that they have done this, we'll be very happy. So obviously, we, on principles, all other 14 members agreed to our objections, amended the press statement, which has strongest condemnation with respect to the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. So don't tell me that Pakistan is not condemned. There are different forums of condemnation. Pakistan has condemned at the International Forum, where it is a responsible, one of the 15 members of the UN Security Council. Pakistan highest security forum, which is National Security Committee, has condemned it. We've condemned terrorism in all its manifestation, all forms and manifestations. Prime Minister has given a very clear condemnation statement when he offered the independent inquiry, impartial, transparent inquiry by independent, actors. So this is something rhetoric which the other side has been playing, that we did not condemn, we didn't do this. That is all wrong. So this is a brief detail I have shared with you, my opening statement. My colleagues sitting with me, spokesperson will walk you through with more detailed specific facts, and then, where necessary, Lieutenant General Sharif would step in to augment the facts. So over to you, Shafqat sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister has provided a detailed policy statement which outlines very clearly the main contours of Pakistan's policy on this development and what is happening in our region. We have a bit more detailed information to share with our colleagues and friends here, and this is basically an attempt to further build on what the Deputy Prime Minister has already articulated. And essentially, it is an effort to clear the fog of confusion and also to remove the miasma of disinformation, basically, and to clearly lay out Pakistan's perspective. So the sequence we are following is basically just to give you an outline of how our detailed presentation would flow. So first we will speak a few words about the Pahalgam incident, some details about geography, what happened. The second is the question of the larger problems which we have been witnessing, which is very evident, is the fake encounters and illegally held Pakistani prisoners in India. The third and very crucial, very important, it feeds into this whole picture, is the Indian-sponsored and abetted terrorism in Pakistan. This we will explain in some detail how it is happening and what are the mechanics and what are the implications of this. And finally, the last two sections deal with the internal repression in India and stifling of freedom of expression, basically. So the first part I'll start is the Pahalgam incident.